What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Macho Movie Madness.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Brandon. Alongside me always is Andrew. Today, we are talking The Fog, 1980s The Fog, and I'm super excited about this because this is one of my favorite John Carpenter films, and I think it's actually a truly underrated film, to be honest with you. I don't think enough people really talk about The Fog. Is it his best work? No. But it is right up there for me. I think I can't remember when what I ranked this, but I know it was like top 5 or 6. I'm pretty sure. I might have been top 5 for sure. I have a hard time remembering things sometimes, but it's definitely up there for me. I really loved it, just mainly because of the score and the atmosphere, and of course the themes around this movie. I think they're pretty interesting. Let's get to it without further ado. I think I mentioned it already. 1980 was the release date of this. It was actually early 1980 on a budget of $1.1 million, brought in $21.3 million at the box office. So not too shabby considering the time frame, I don't think. So basically, this is this little small town in Northern California called Antonio Bay. And they're getting ready to celebrate the centennial of the town. Well, unfortunately, this town and its history is plagued by a very dark past, dark crimes. And this is basically the tale of the ghosts at that end of crimes getting revenge on the townspeople. Yeah. That's that in a nutshell.
Blake and everybody on the Elizabeth Dane.
Yeah. There's paranormal activity that usually strikes around, midnight, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the town. And it happens kind of all the way leading up to the centennial of the town.
Yeah. And basically they had this gold, and didn't the townspeople lead them in with like a campfire, but led them onto a rocky shore?
Yes.
And that's where they crashed
they crashed and perished. Yeah.
Yeah. And the people in this movie are the descendants of everybody who conspired to do this 100 years before.
Right, exactly. So and of course, father, who was one of the descendants, is Father Malone, Patrick Malone, who is played by Hal Holbrook
from The Thing.
And from The Thing, he basically figures this out. He discovers the past and what could happen, and tries to warn the mayor of the town, who was played by Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, also of Psycho fame. And which I believe this was, I think I mentioned this on my channel during Halloween H2O. This was her last role until her cameo in Halloween H2. I think that's right.
Huh.
But she's the mayor. She of course dismisses it. They've got, she said it's so long ago, and it's, it's not a big deal. We've got too much to worry about. And her assistant is played by none other than Nancy Loomis.
Yeah.
Or Nancy Keys, however you want to say it. Who was Tommy Lee Wallace's ex-wife, played Annie in the first Halloween movie.
I like her. She's kind of a smart ass in this thing. I like
she
her
is.
Character.
Yeah, she is. And we've got a whole boatload of characters here, and a lot of Carpenter alumni. Some for the very first time here, actually.
Yeah.
This Tom Atkins, I believe this was his first time. Jamie Lee Curtis makes an appearance in this as more of a free spirit, I guess is the nicest way to.
Yeah, you could say that.
To say in this, and who hooks up with Tom Atkins?
Of course, it's Tom Atkins.
Because this starts the whole Pimp Daddy Tom Atkins arc here.
Hal Holbrook, as you already mentioned.
Hal Holbrook, as I've mentioned already. George Buck.
Oh yeah,
George Buck Flower.
And you got the name of his character pulled up there.
Let me see if I can find it.
It is Tommy Wallace.
Is it really Tommy Wallace?
It's Tommy Wallace.
That's funny.
Tom Atkins.
Yeah.
He's Nick Castle.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Nick Castle.
I forgot all about it, and I was watching the credits roll, and I'm like, that is hilarious.
I know, because they don't really do a lot of mentioning of names in these movies. There's Carpenter's not usually the type to put too much into that. I think he just really focuses on a theme, a story, and an atmosphere in a lot of his movies, and you have a little bit, it's kind of like John Nada and they live. I think he's billed as Nada, but I don't think John Nada. Was it just John Nada? Was it only in the credits that it was even?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't even think he didn't even address him by the name in the movie at all. No one knew his name in the movie.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Else?
Yeah, sounds like a Carpenter trope.
Yeah, it's just not. It doesn't seem like it's his way. A lot of times, I think he just kind of because they're not really sophisticated films. I don't mean that in a bad way. Just he tells enough that you can kind of read between the lines, and that's really all you need to do. And it's really more about atmosphere, I think, and setting and just craziness.
That's where the movie really shines, is the atmosphere.
Absolutely. It is very sinister, and there are themes in this movie. Obviously, the revenge plot that's marred by dark crime. The town's marred by dark crime. It's history, and it's about the revenge of these ghost pirates coming out of the fog. I think I read this somewhere. He got the inspiration from a short story. And let me see what it was. Trollenberg Terror.
Huh.
It was a British film, not a story. It was a British film called Trollenberg Terror, which dealt with monsters hiding in the clouds. So we kind of drew some inspiration from there. And The Fog, I think, was inspiration when him and Deborah Hill visited Stonehenge during a trip while they were promoting Assault on Precinct 13, and this eerie fog rolled over the landscape. He said, that's what I'm reading here anyway.
Going to Stonehenge, eh?
Going to Stonehenge, which maybe gave him the idea also for the Stonehenge shit in Halloween 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, they do have these themes, but he doesn't focus. Obviously, he tells the story of these themes. You kind of pick that up, but he doesn't really elaborate too much because he is very busy focusing on the atmosphere, I think, which I think is actually a good choice because that's what makes this movie as great as it is.
Yeah, everything about that sleepy little town of Antonio Bay, from the radio station on top of a cliff in a lighthouse.
Yeah. And I love that part of the story.
Yeah.
Because everything's separated. It's Northern California, so this town's small and things are separated. And this is everybody listens to this radio station. And Adrienne Barbeau, of course, and her beautiful radio voice is the DJ for that, and it's out at a lighthouse, which I think is a really cool scenario. I think that's awesome. But she's the one kind of noticing these occurrences and warning the people about the fog as it comes in.
Yeah, I like that. And I just love how serene it is when they show that shot of her where it's doing, the call numbers, the station intros, and she's walking down those steps, and you see the waves breaking across the water down below. It's just a gorgeous shot.
Oh, there's a lot of good imagery in this movie.
Yeah.
Very good cinematography in this movie. And I'm pretty sure, is Dean Cundy, was he involved in that?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was kind of with Carpenter for a while in the 80s.
But yeah, the downtown stuff, with everything kind of going crazy, in the supermarket and, the fog rolling through town, everything out on the water with the seagrass. I really like the atmosphere there. Especially that huge pirate ship when it comes rolling up.
Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the actual filming locations here. Point Reyes, Bolinas, and Inverness.
Yeah.
I think were all places in California that it was shot.
And then when Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins are walking on that pier, that's actually, I can't remember the name of the town. It's killing me, but that's actually where they shot the birds. Right there.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's awesome. That makes sense.
Where the gas station kind of blew up and everything.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I've not seen it mentioned anywhere, but a couple of these shots, I believe, were in The Howling. When she's driving up to the lighthouse on that really windy road, there's a shot in The Howling, and that might be the same road. And then I want to say the scene where Andy finds the driftwood out there with the cliffs, which that's a gorgeous scene out there on the beach. I want to say that's where they had like the big werewolf hoedown in The Howling. Wonderful.
It's not, and I was sitting here thinking, are we going to talk about favorite scenes in this movie? I don't know if I really have any favorite scenes as far as, you know, action, or I mean, there's some really cool tense scenes, like the chase scene as the fog's rolling into town and the final act, and you know they're trying to get to the church. I think that's really suspenseful. I think that's good. But I think, as we've mentioned, I think it's more or less about, it's less about kills and any particular scene as it is the atmosphere and the build up to the end.
Yeah.
For me, it's just the overall imagery of this film is what makes it such a good time to watch. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I guess from what I was watching on a documentary, there were even less kills in it originally. And John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were watching it, and they're like, "Oh, we got to do something because this is kind of dreadful," you know.
Right. Yeah, we got to.
They put a lot of things in there, like that guy in the seagrass falling on Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and a few other things. The one scene that I don't really like, that's kind of a con to me, the one where they take the guy, you know, the corpse in the hospital, and he raises up off the table. I mean, yeah, it's supernatural, but that just seems like an out of place scene.
Yeah, it's a little bit goofy. I will say the one kill that sticks out to me is the one when they first board the ship that's got the dude from that we talked about earlier, was George Flower. Which is his first appearance in a Carpenter movie as well, which obviously he's in Starman, Escape from New York, They Live. He's the hobo that becomes acquainted with the aliens by the end. You don't get it, big boys.
Grand Tour.
And he was in Village of the Damned as well. But him and his crew gets killed. I think they were the first kills in the movie, technically, by the ghost pirates, I think. Anyway, the last guy that was down below watching the weather or whatever, his kill sticks out to me because they took that fish hook or whatever it was, or some kind of pike or something. It was I can't remember what it was, but they basically, it could have been an ice pick for all I know, but I mean, he basically just took it and just rammed it into his head a bunch of times, and you just hear that sound because it's not overly gory. It's just, you know, you can hear this. I think it's the sound.
Yeah. Pretty
brutal. And then of course, Grandma getting killed, Grandma getting peeled into the fog and the door shutting on the kid. And of course the preacher getting his head lopped off at the end, or the Father Malone.
Yeah. And I love when we're talking about these pirates, I love the
yes.
That's just that works with all your senses, you know. It just,
for sure,
it's great.
I
used to work with a lady at a place where me and Brandon used to work. Actually, we were there at separate times, but that's the first time I ever watched The Fog. She let me borrow it, and I used to creep her out at work by doing that. Like,
just do that slow hard knock.
Slow knock.
Yeah.
So
it is creepy. It is very creepy. And of course, you can't have creepy without the score, which is absolute fire in this movie. Phenomenal. I mean, you expect nothing less from Carpenter anyway, but this, man, a lot of A minor, B. This is it's creepy, man.
Yeah, I was listening to this. I actually watched it a couple days ago, and I was like, that main theme, I believe it's called Ghost Story. It's like, I got to record that and put that on the intro, because that's what resonated with me, like, throughout this entire movie. That little piece. Yes. The main theme's really cool too, but that is so creepy. Just and it's just done used so sparingly. All the notes that they use there, it's so creepy and fits it to a T. Especially that opening scene where you've got the guy on the beach talking to those little kids. It's just,
about the tale of Blake. Yes. Do you want to talk pros and cons? I mean, we've talked a lot of pros. There's any really other cons than what you mentioned earlier?
I don't really have a whole lot of cons.
I don't really think
it's paced well.
It is paced well. It's 90 minutes.
Like I said, that one guy on the table, you know, some of the gore, I thought the dummy that fell on Jamie Lee Curtis, I thought it was
kind of a cheap scare.
Yeah.
Gave her a reason to do the scream.
Yeah, but I don't really have too many cons.
I don't either. I think you're right. I think it was paced well. I never found myself bored.
I think even the fog effects, you know, a lot of times they were just rolling fog in, but a lot of other times they were using still photography and, you know, bringing in fog effects around it. You know, everything was black around an image so they could, you know, put this fog in. A lot of people might not like that, but I thought it worked, especially for 1980.
Yeah, I think it was just fine. It doesn't bother me at all. I think Carpenter has always been very resourceful and known for making things work on a tight budget. And while some things might not always look the best, I think it's still presentable. And I think even now it's presentable enough that it doesn't bother me. One of the very few things I could say that I can call that shit out in a lot of movies, but for whatever reason, it just seems to work in theirs and his. He manages almost in a way to make most of his movies timeless.
Yeah,
in the way I think he does, anyway.
Yeah, they could be of any time. The one thing I didn't really care for, I guess, now that I think about it, the main poster Jamie Lee Curtis is on, coming off of Halloween. I think that's a little bit of false advertising. She's just cheap. A side character.
Yeah, she really is a side character. Adrienne Barbeau is more or less the star. There's several stars. I mean, they kind of all they show a little, because I mean, Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis are prominent characters because one of the crew members was his buddy, I think, when it all started. So he's investigating that. She's kind of a hitchhiker who tags along with him, and they hook up or whatever. And then you've got Father Malone, Carpenter with a cameo at the beginning. He's the guy. He's like maintenance for the church. Then you have, of course, Nancy Loomis and Janet Leigh, and their dynamic. And then you've got the boy in Adrienne Barbeau's character, which her name escapes me. Stevie Wayne.
Stevie Wayne. Woo.
Yeah. Woo. So they all kind of converge at the end there, but I would still say, I still think when I think Fog, I think Adrienne Barbeau. I think Stevie. I don't necessarily think
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie.
That's why, like
I think Tom Atkins more.
The Scream Factory version, and I think that's some great,
Yeah, that's got a little bit of everybody on there, and Adrienne Barbeau's kind of up there.
Yeah,
Tom Atkins dead center. I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good
one. I call that a con, but that's more on the marketing of the movie than the actual movie.
For sure. I get why they did it. And it's not a bad poster. But also, I think we've probably mentioned it before in other videos, but the church, which is a really cool church in the movie, makes it look like it's out in the middle of this northern side California town, a small town, or out in the middle of nowhere almost, right? It's actually around the corner from the street in Halloween 2 and 3. So that scene in Halloween 2 where Dick Warlock is walking up and bumps into his son, the boombox boy. He bumps into him and then walks around the corner towards the hospital. It's just down around that corner and down the street a little ways is that church.
Wow.
And they also use either that same side or the reverse side of that same street in Halloween 3 where Tom Atkins is on the phone with Nancy Loomis and says that he's going to go out of town with the young hottie hot, and he's got something he's got to do.
Yeah.
He's going to be back in time for trick-or-treating.
Get a Schlitz beer and get out of there.
Get a Schlitz beer and get the fuck out of here. But yeah, it's just down around the corner, which I think is so cool.
We were talking the other day, it's probably a pipe dream, but flying out there and going to all these locations.
I want to see it, man. We should someday. Anyway, was there anything else other than rating this thing? Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, the music, the atmosphere, the locations, like I said, man, so gorgeous. The lighthouse, him running on that beach. I just absolutely love those scenes.
I do too.
Yeah, just a great movie. If you're in the mood for something on like a lazy afternoon, this is great to put in.
For sure. Just for mood, just for kind of vibing out. It's a really good movie. If you've never seen it, it's awesome. I think you'll enjoy. If you like Carpenter, you'll love the imagery. You'll love the score. What are you going to rate this thing?
I almost want to go 4. I'm thinking 3 3/4, maybe 4. What are you thinking?
Well, like I said, I think it's massively underrated. I do want to go 4. It's very close to 4 if it's not 4. I don't know if I think it's got to be over 3 1/4. It's somewhere in the middle, that 3 1/4 and 4 range to me.
Yeah.
I think just because if Roger Ebert and all them assholes can do do this based on their feelings, then I can also do the same thing. So I'll bump it up to a 4, just because I think it's underrated. I love it.
Okay,
So
I'll go
4 out of
4
5.
then. Yeah,
4 out of
that way
5.
we're 4 across the board. Yeah, just a great movie.
Just a really, really good movie. And I think if you, even if you haven't seen it in a while and you kind of forgot, go back and watch it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. You know, it's like, I think Andrew even told me at work the other day, he's like, man, I forgot how good the music was in that movie.
Yeah,
because it'd been a while since you'd seen it. But, and I've got an old Shout Factory. I got the Steelbook edition, which has got which I should have got it out for this. It's back there on that shelf behind me, but it's a really cool Steelbook edition of that. And I got the poster as well to go with it from Shout Factory. Love their artwork. Love their stuff.
yeah.
Anyway, what did we decide again for the next review?
So we've done Carpenter the last couple times. We've talked about getting back into the action realm, and we're going to do a ridiculous movie next. But we both just absolutely love it, and that is Death Wish 3.
Yes.
We've not talked Charles Bronson on this channel in years.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, I love Charles Bronson as an action star. I'm going back and rediscovering a lot of his 70s stuff now. So, yeah, this one, even though it's mid 80s, man, it's a lot of fun, and we're going to talk it and probably laugh a lot about it next.
Yeah, it's almost kind of Warehouse B,
just about, yeah.
But but we love it so much, and so we decided to put it on this series instead. So yeah, why we love Death Wish 3, and it is, man, I have such a blast with it. You know, the first 2 were pretty decent, but I have such a good time with this crazy ass movie. So that's going to be fun. All right, so until then, be on the lookout. We got a Punisher versus. If that's not out already, it will be coming up soon, and be on the lookout for Death Wish 3. Until then, we will see you next time.
We're out of here.